Morning, friends. It's Monday morning, and we are now in the gray zone. We have moved from stay-at-home order to the gray zone. And it's interesting to me the degree of consternation that there is out there because, well, it's not moving as fast as we'd like. In fact, other places are moving faster than we are moving, and where we're seeing restrictions come down, we're not seeing all the restrictions come down, are we? We are not open yet as a church. We see other places that are seeing their restrictions removed, and it's difficult to know how to feel and difficult to digest these things, right? It's hard to get by the stereotypes. It's hard to get by the societal commentary out there, and that we see things that, whereas churches benefit society very much, we maybe are looking around and seeing other places that are opening or having their restrictions lifted that they didn't have lifted during the last gray zone, the last time we were in the gray zone, and even things that don't help society that the way that churches objectively do. We see other things, we think, okay, well, I'm not sure I understand why those things need to be open. You know, my concern at this point, brothers and sisters, is that we've got to show ourselves different as the people of God. We have a calling and a mandate that's just simply not the same as the world around us. And there's something about a lack of, is it a lack of perspective? Is it a lack of gratefulness because of our perspective? Or it just seems that we're missing something to me. Let me suggest a psalm in Psalm 71 that, you know, just seems in the middle of some difficulties. The psalmist seems to be gaining a different perspective than I feel like maybe it's a little bit tough for us to recognize. Maybe this would be helpful today, brothers and sisters. Psalm 71 in verse 12, the psalmist pleads, "O God, be not far from me. O my God, make haste to help me. May my accusers be put to shame and consumed with scorn and disgrace. May they be covered who seek my hurt." So he's having a tough time. He is not being properly represented. He's having challenges in his life and difficulty in his life that are maybe different than he ever has before, that seem to be unsurpassed in their effect upon him. And he's crying out to God because he's feeling God is distant. And he's feeling God is distant because the way things should be going are, in his estimation, not the way they're going. But he turns relatively quickly in this beautiful verse in verse 14, Psalm 71, 14. "But I will hope continually, and I will praise you yet more and more. My mouth will tell of your righteous acts and your deeds of salvation all the day. For their number is past my knowledge. And with the mighty deeds of the Lord God I will come. I will remind them of your righteousness, yours alone. O God, from my youth you have taught me, and I still proclaim your wondrous deeds." You know, the psalmist says, people need to be reminded of how good you are and how good you have been. And I'm with you in this, brothers and sisters. I wish we were in worship together in person yesterday. And yet, I read in, I think it was the Star, one of the archbishops of, I believe it was the Anglican community, one of the branches of that here in Toronto, that the headline was, "There'll be more people in the liquor stores than are in the churches." And he was making the case that this just doesn't make any sense. Why in the world, where churches have not been shown to be a problem with spreading this virus, why would the churches be the place that are not only shut down and extraordinarily limited, but kept locked down even longer than other areas that are still open, like liquor stores and Costco and Walmart? And I don't know, friends, it feels to me like it's just too easy a target. You know, Christians are already being painted with a brush of, you know, I don't smoke and I don't chew and I don't go with girls that do. Granted, reminded me of that rhyme when he was growing up. And, you know, the liquor stores are always an easy target for Christians, aren't they? And when small businesses can't open, it feels like Costco and Walmart and superstores are an easy target. But one of the things that's easy for us to miss, isn't it, is that the church is part of society, and it's full of people who live in this same society. And that you maybe heard the phrase that a high tide floats all boats. That when something good happens in society in general, it helps everybody that's part of that society. Which means, brothers and sisters, that when the psalmist says, I will tell of the wondrous deeds of the Lord, I will remind people of what you've done. And I will remind people of what you've done in your deeds, because my hope is continually in you. I'm sure you struggle like I do to not only be hopeful as a Christian, but to continually be hopeful. One of the ways you're hopeful, brothers and sisters, is to remember the sovereignty of our God, that our God reigns over all of this. And not just what God does, but when God does what God does. What I'm getting at is this: it doesn't help the church if you shut down the liquor store. And somebody says, well, we're not saying the liquor store should be shut down. We're saying the churches should be open. No, actually, we're not always. When you present a problem like the young entrepreneur in his or her flower shop can't be open, but big box stores like Costco are open. Okay, someone listening to that says, that's your problem? Well, you're right. We should shut down Costco. Walmart is no longer allowed to be open. And now, thousands of other people are out of work. Tens of thousands of dollars of economic activity are removed from our society. People are not finding that little bit of camaraderie and mental health aspects of daily and normal life. But you know, at least it's fair now. And I know most of our listeners this morning will say, no, that's not what we're saying. We're not saying to shut down Costco. We're saying to open the small business. We're not saying shut down the liquor store. Maybe Christians are known to say that. But if we say we're not saying shut down the liquor store, we're simply saying open the churches. We're not simply saying that. That's not what people are hearing, because it's not what we're saying. See, we present the fallacy of the false dilemma, or as one person says, the fallacy of the excluded middle. When you mean you have this option and this option, and there may be all kinds of stuff in the middle. So it's a false dilemma because you think you only have these two problems or these two options to solve your problem. Either you open the churches and close the liquor stores. Okay, but wait a minute. What if you leave the liquor store open and the church is open the next week? What if the big box stores who are providing jobs to tens of thousands of church-going members, there are people, they're working, the economy is moving. As more and more stores are opening, and now some of the stores that had certain levels of restrictions in the last gray lockdown time period that we're in now, when they have restrictions lifted, that's good for everybody. That's not bad for the church. It's not harming the church. I get it. Seems to me a goofy choice and non-science-based, non-data-based, non-particular details, we understand why this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. But it doesn't make as much sense as it could. Or it's not as good a thing as it could be. But that doesn't make it a bad thing. And I just don't think we help our hope by failing to recognize that the call in the scriptures is for Christians to really focus on, major on what God is actually doing. The society is moving forward to being open because God is doing that. Doug Ford's not doing that. It's not ultimately up to Dr. David Williams. It's our God who's doing these things. And as God opens areas that were more restricted, as the malls are open, as some small businesses are open, as grocery stores and big box stores are able to have larger capacity than they once did, friends, Christians got to rejoice in that. Oh, we are rejoicing in that. We're just saying we want the churches open. That's not all we're saying. We know that's not all we're saying. It's certainly not the emphasis that we're only hearing or that we're always hearing. So here I am on a Monday, and I'm not wanting to beat up anybody who's feeling the grief and the pain of not having our corporate worship together. I really do feel it. But brothers and sisters, we've got to help each other towards hope, towards being continually hopeful. I will tell of your righteous deeds, of your acts. In the midst of things not going exactly the way they should, in the midst of things going actually wrong. Nevertheless, as Christians, we want to be hopeful by looking at and seeing the big picture and being willing to rejoice that good things are happening, even if the best thing isn't happening yet. Because there's something in us. It's similar to the kind of prosperity that we know in North America. And whatever house we have, it's never big enough. And whatever car we're driving, it's never nice enough or new enough. However much we get back from our income tax refunds in the coming weeks, this is that season, right? It's never quite enough. However much we contributed to our RSPs, there's always more we could do. However much time off we have, we always want more time off. However, what a good deal we have, there always could have been a better deal somewhere else. Do you know what that's like? And the danger is, brothers and sisters, that the churches do open. In fact, the churches are open now. Some of our brothers are opening their churches with 10 people. And they got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I heard a brother got 12 1-hour, 10-person services on a weekend. They could do it. But that's not enough. Well, then it's going to be open at 30%. Oh, isn't it a shame the churches are only open 30%? Then we'll go to 50%. Oh, isn't it, we don't understand. Walmart's now open at 75%. We're only open at 50%. Do you see how that, you know what I'm saying? And we can become these chronic, yeah, but what about? What have you done for me lately, Lord? Why aren't you doing more than you're doing? Why aren't you doing it faster than you are? And we just miss the opportunity to be houses set on hilltops and the salt of the earth and lights of the world and make a difference and shine a light of and breathe a breath of hopefulness into a discouraged and frustrated society and world and church. I want this to help you, Downsview. I want us at Downsview Church to look out and go, right, the vaccination numbers are going up. The restrictions are coming down. The time towards us being open. My goodness, look around us. You got 20 minutes the other side of Mississauga, and the churches are open. Half an hour the other side of Scarborough, they're open. It's happening, friends. God is on the move. Let's not miss that, to his glory and to the joy of all of us. Enjoy your day in the Lord, friends. Cheers.